Okay, let's move on. The U.S. Treasury Department gives the okay for some of the nation's biggest banks to return their government bailout funds, and they are jumping at the chance. Michelle McCory is in New York with a closer look at that. Michelle.
Hi there, Paul. Well, in all, 10 banks have been given the green light to return their TARP funds, and most have already indicated that they will take advantage of the opportunity. JP Morgan Chase, Morgan Stanley, US Bancorp, and Capital One, as well as BB&T, Amex, Bank of New York Mellon, State Street, and Northern Trust, all want to bail out of their bailout funds. Goldman Sachs also saying that it will repurchase 10 million shares of TARP stock. Now, Treasury Secretary Tim Geithner says the repayments are an encouraging sign of financial repair, but that there is still work to do.
We have a financial system today that is substantially stronger than it was 2, 3, 6, 9 months ago, and is in a much better position to provide the credit necessary to help us get through this recession and get back on a growth path again.
So those 10 banks will buy back $68 billion of government shares, and that will reduce the authority of officials to intervene in everything from lending and hiring strategies to the more contentious issues of how much CEOs get paid and, of course, bonuses. Now, firms buying back the government's preferred shares also have the right to repurchase warrants that the Treasury holds at what the Treasury statement describes, Paul, as fair market value pricing. Paul?
And, Michelle, also, some banks either didn't qualify or didn't elect to pay back money. Which were those?
Well, that's right, Paul. The approved firms did not include Bank of America, that is the biggest U.S. bank by assets, and Citigroup, each of which have accepted $45 billion from the government. Wells Fargo, which received $25 billion in government aid, also was not on this list. Now, Wells Fargo executives say they have not applied to return their TARP funds yet, and they are focusing on integrating their acquisition of Wachovia. Well, the S&P seemed to like this news. The financials index closed up 0.5% in Tuesday's trade. Now, out of the 10 banks that said that they would repay, only 2 closed down today. That is JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley. All of the other banks out of that list of 10 all closing up higher, Paul. Now, there is also what analysts say a situation where there could now be a stigma attached to those banks that didn't make the list and not paying back. And there's also some concern from people that perhaps in the haste to remove the scarlet letter of the TARP funds, they perhaps were not in the best position to repay the TARP funds. Paul?
Okay, Michelle, thank you very much indeed for that. That's Michelle McCory with the story there in New York.